Yo, I was young when the storm hit my life. Lost my queen, but the village held me tight. Every tear, every scar, every sleepless night. Built a woman who knows how to fight. Black girl this, black woman that. Black girl this, black woman that.
Do you consider expectations to be a form of boundaries?
Yeah, I think it is. But just like you said just now, you also have to be vocal about your boundaries.
Mm-hmm. You also mentioned not a lot of times we don't read people, kind of like we don't discern people and who we really are supposed to have in our corners and people that we are to share experiences with. That's a big part. And I think it kind of gets lost in our experiences, like things that we're experiencing in life, things that we're going through. I would say for me, with that, I think one of the biggest lessons I learned was that to take consideration of where I am and who I'm connecting to when I'm in a situation. And it can be a good situation or a not so good situation, because when we're in those situations, we tend to attract certain people. And so I feel like that's why it's important for us to really use that discernment to be like, okay, where is this connection coming from? And why am I connecting with these people? Yeah.
Like for me, I don't take it, I guess, as deep, right? Because for me, and my conversations with God, that is literally one of my first prayers, right? I want to be able to have a better discernment for people, situations, and things. I want wisdom. I want knowledge. And I feel like having those things, I don't sit and try to decipher if this person is good or if this person is bad. Because another thing that I also pray for is I don't want anybody that's to be in my life that's not supposed to be in my life. So I don't try to figure out if this is supposed to be happening, if it's not supposed to be happening. To me, if you're here, you're here because you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And whether it's going to be for a day, 30 days, a year, 5 years, I do believe that because I asked for that discernment and I asked God to only put people that need to be there. If you're not supposed to be there, he's going to remove you at some point.
Right. Yeah. And I think that speaks back to the confidence piece as well. Because one, you have to be confident in your relationship with Christ. And then two, you have to also be confident in who he, again, has called you to be. And then why is it that you think we struggle, or let me not even assume, when it's those moments where God is separating us from those people, even if they were called to be in our lives, right? Because no one is in our lives forever. So whenever God has called those people to be in our lives and he's separating them from us, or he's separating us from them, what makes you okay with it? Or are you okay with it?
I'm smiling because that was actually a prayer I had, right? Because, like I said, I take friendship seriously. So I've never had a big friend circle, right? I might have 3, maybe 5 friends the most at one time, but these are my people.
Yeah.
And I said that prayer and I was like, remove who's not supposed to be in my life and make me okay with it. Because my friend circle was so small, I never wanted to let my friends go, because it's damn, I only got 3 friends. How you going to remove 3 friends? So that subpart was part of my prayer where I said, whoever you're going to remove, make me okay with it. And that added to a different kind of confidence where, they say you ask God to remove people and they come through like a RICO charge. Everybody just keeps going, right? And it literally happened to me where everybody just started falling off. And it wasn't that something big happened to end these relationships. It just drifted. And I literally was okay with it.
You was okay with it.
I didn't question it. Wasn't second guessing. I didn't feel any way about it. And there was just like this calmness about it. And I'm like,
love that. Yeah.
That's just God. That's God doing what you ask him to do.
Yeah. And then knowing too on the other end that he will never do anything to hurt us. So if he's removing people, places, and things from our experiences, then it's gonna be okay. Yeah.
Another thing I want to add to that is he removes, but he doesn't just remove, he replaces. So sometimes you feel like, oh, I had 3 and he took them 3 and I'm sitting here and it's like, but he will replace them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I love the fact that you take your friendships seriously. My question to you is, do you have check-ins with your friends? Like, do y'all check in? I seen this thing on Instagram. I hope this is not plagiarism.
You said you've seen it on Instagram.
So it's like, it's already out there, right? Okay, cool. So it was actually someone talking about, or I don't know what it was specifically, but the context behind it is it was a group of friends and they were checking in with one another. And the prompts were that specific person is naming where they are.
Okay.
Like what space they're in, mentally, physically, spiritually. And then there was a question posed to the group like, what do y'all need from me? Or like, how can I show up better, like as your friend?
Okay.
Not necessarily have you ever had those moments with your people, but have you ever sat in that and asked yourself that, like, okay, so this is where I am in life right now. And there was a moment where you had to like really reflect and was just like, this is how I'm showing up for this person. Maybe I need to improve that a little more.
Yes and no. So the friends that I do have, we're pretty outspoken with each other. Like I'm not shy. They call me Bullface. So if there's something that's bothering me, whether it's about myself or even like, you know, with my friend, and not necessarily that something that they're doing is affecting me. But let's say my friend is in a situation that I don't think my friend should be in, or just along those lines. Like, I'm not afraid to say to my friend, like, I don't think this is what you should be doing. Or, you know, I don't like that for you. Or just whatever along those lines. And for me, with my friends, we don't necessarily check in like a specific time and stuff, but we're not afraid to if I need it, I'm gonna give it to you. If you need it, I'm gonna give it to you. I just
but like I'm more so speaking of like you taking inventory of like Rasheda.
So
would it be the same?
Yeah, it's kind of the same because, like I said, in my friendships, there's if this is what you need from me, say it. And if this is what I need from you, say it. Like, there's that expectation.
Okay.
If you kind of like drift from that, let's say there's something that's happening with you and you're not reaching out to say it, I want to say it's not my obligation to like check in, but it's also like, if you don't say it, how am I gonna know?
Right.
You know?
And I feel like that is something that's missing from a lot of our relationships. I feel like because people are, or people feel like they're so close, you're supposed to know. That's the only reason why I asked, because it's like, not necessarily. Yeah, I'm not a mind reader, though.
That's what I'm saying. You're supposed to, if something is happening, like, and I'm your friend, because I know I take it seriously, you take it seriously, like, you're supposed to be able to come to me and say, Rasheda, ABC.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And then, too, I'm on another level, y'all. If I'm able to sit in and really reflect on Bernadette, this is where I am in life, this is how I'm moving. If I know I'm showing up a certain way, I'm gonna make note of that and take it into consideration and then change it. I'm expecting that in return.
But here's my thing with the Bernadette sitting and knowing that she's coming across a certain way, right? Just because you think you're showing up one way doesn't mean that's how the person that is kind of accepting that. And I think that is something that we don't talk about.
Yeah.
The word just slipped me. Intention.
Yes.
Right?
Agreed.
I think intention plays a big part in just this conversation we're having. Because if I'm showing up this way and you're taking, let's say, offense to, or something made you feel a way about how I'm showing up, you have to realize that's not my intention.
Yeah.
So you're more responsible for how you kind of take it. I'm responsible for how I'm really just showing up.
Yeah. So is it safe to expect, like, going back to like the sitting in, because I was coming more so from a place of like, if I'm sitting here and I'm being intentional with how I'm checking in with me and making sure I'm showing up the best way that I know how to, and that may not be okay for the next on the person on the other end, because they might feel I need to show up a little better. But are you doing the same is what I'm saying. Are you like sitting in who you are and where you are and really reflecting on how you're showing up? I think that's the piece that we kind of get confused with, like the intention behind it, because it can also come off as like not caring too. Because it's like, I care about you so much that I'm taking the time out to really reflect, but you're not doing the same for me. Does that make sense?
It does, but it's back to we're all responsible for ourselves, right? So if you think that you're intentionally representing yourself the way you want to be shown up, right? The other person, however they take that, should have like nothing to do with you. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, but we all have to go back to ourselves. If how I show up isn't resonating with you, meaning you're doing it, but then I'm not doing it, like it's not about me not doing it. It's not about you.
Yeah.
And you doing it isn't about me.
Why are you laughing?
Because I'm trying to figure out like how I don't think I explained what is in my mind properly.
No, I get it. And let me know if I'm right or wrong. What you're saying is me reflecting, me sitting in shouldn't necessarily have anything to do with the next person. It should have everything to do with Bernadette and how Bernadette is showing up. Be it like, well, we'll say as my authentic self. But if the next person isn't being receptive to it, with knowing that I'm being intentional about it, then that's on them and not necessarily on me. Yeah. And I agree with that. And I mentioned that because I think it's those situations that play a huge role as well in why people kind of like fall apart and not necessarily know how to move accordingly. Does that make sense?
Move accordingly in what,
in
the friendship?
in relationships, yeah.
Okay.
And my perspective on that specific quote, moving accordingly, I was so against that. And I had shared it with someone once. Like, if you're my friend, I feel like I shouldn't have to move accordingly with you.
Okay.
But indeed you do.
You do.
Yeah. So it's like, no. And it doesn't make me a bad person and it doesn't make them a bad person. It's just literally what you have to do. You have to move accordingly. And I feel like when we move accordingly, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It actually brings you peace. And it kind of cuts like the overthinking. It cuts that out. It cut out the spiraling, and it cut out the making up and the assuming. Someone said to me, oh, it might have been DMX. He ain't say it to me. He probably, it was a snippet on social media. He was like, trust people to show you. He was like, the only thing you can really do is trust people to show you who they are. I hope I got that right. I probably didn't paraphrase. But trust people to show you who they really are. That's the only trust you can really put in people. And so with that, it's like, when you have that, you have no choice but to move accordingly.
Yes. I agree.
So in us being confident in who we are, how we show up, standing firm on who we know ourselves to be, 2 terms have come up for us, isolation and solitude. How would you simplify those 2 things?
I think isolation is to disconnect from society, your friends, your family, like you're pulling away. And I think solitude is connecting with yourself or with, yourself, God. The 2 kind of go together.
Yeah.
So I think that's the difference with solitude and isolation.
I agree. And to add, I would say with isolation, I feel like it's not necessarily purpose driven. And with solitude, it is very much so purpose driven, and in that you find growth. And I think I used to do it. Because before knowing the damage that was happening when we isolate, I thought it was just like, oh, it's a me thing, like I'm just taking this time for me. And I bring that up because in our previous episode, you said you don't separate yourself from your friends. And I'm not going to hold you. I'm just like, who doesn't separate themselves from, like, how do you find time to think about what's best for Rasheda? Or how do you find time to like regroup with yourself?
That's the solitude part.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So it came back because I was just like, oh, okay. So not necessarily separating or going into isolation, but also like solitude doesn't call for a disconnection.
Yes, exactly. Because solitude is it's yourself. Isolation is you're really pulling away from people. You're pulling away from situations and stuff.
Yeah. And when we are pulling away from people and things, when we're isolating ourselves, I feel like we go into like victim mode too, because it's just like, woe is me. It's just like, here I am. This is what happened. They did that, they did this, but it's not a time where you're just like sitting in that pain and really figuring out what now.
Yeah, I think the isolation is kind of like trying to inflict pain in a way, because you're separating yourself. You're thinking it's for your benefit, but sometimes it's actually hurting the people who you're disconnecting from.
Yeah. Yeah. That I wanted to come back to that because I'm like, how? But then it goes back to the intentional piece of like really connecting to what's meant for you to connect to.
That's the time. That's when the solitude. That's when you're sitting, you're, going through your thoughts, you're having conversations with God, just with yourself, whatever, and I guess reflecting on things,
Yeah. So I do have a question though, in terms of like that well balance. So not necessarily separating from your friends or separating from people, your family, loved ones. How is it, like, what do you do to create that balance?
Honestly, my solitude time is, I guess because I have a lot of alone time, because I don't have kids, I don't have a partner and stuff like that.
Oh, they go out the window.
So getting into the solitude part is easy for me. It'd be on my drive home.
Yeah.
It'd be after my drive home. Sometimes I sit in my driveway for hours. You know, like
Being a mom and balancing relationships outside of like family members, within work, I have to be a little more intentional on spending time and reconnecting with God and really getting into that place of solitude, like getting into that place to like really getting into that place of solitude and into that place to like really grow. Like I said, I have to be intentional on making that space. And sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes I'm not able to find it where it's like no one else. And so I find my moments of solitude to just be in the moment of whatever is happening.
I get that. That's actually a nice. But like for me, like I said, it's a little different because I don't have kids. I don't have a significant other. Like I do have a lot of alone time, and with my alone time, that's where my thoughts go. I pray, or I talk to God. You know.
Yeah.
So mine is a little different from yours. I don't necessarily have to find time, and I do feel like I always wanted it to be a part of who I am. You know, now that you have to find time, like you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is prayer. It's not a chore. It's just a thing. It's just something that happens kind of like automatically.
Yeah.
So for me, my solitude is something that finding my solitude is something that kind of it just happens in those moments where I'm by myself a lot.
Yeah. And for me, it's just
you have to kind of make space.
or sometimes take it.
Yeah,
I have
never
to take
thought
it.
about it like that. So.
There was a conversation that we were having, and we were talking about like being spontaneous and like going out and stuff like that. And you were like, you're a little more aware of how you invite your mom friends out because of their responsibilities and stuff. So my question is, and I did ask you this. I said, is that something that you decided to do on your own? Or is it something that they may have voiced, or like, where did that come from? And in short, your response was, I know my people, or like, I know my friends. But I wanted to touch on that because not often you have friends or people that we are really close with who are on different ends of the spectrum. So like having kids and not having kids, that's like on two different ends of the spectrum. So I think for you to be able to find that balance, or just all of y'all to be able to find that balance, is extremely important. But how do you manage it? Like how?
Well, firstly, I have friends for different reasons. And in having friends for different reasons, I kind of have friends for different things. Right? And when I say that, I mean like what I might go to one girlfriend with, I might not go to the another girlfriend with, right? Because I understand why I'm friends with this girlfriend. The reason I'm friends with this girlfriend, that kind of might not
be the same.
Be the same. So in me knowing my people, I also know who wants to do what with me, or who would do what with me, who can do what with me, whether it be kids on a financial bit, just whatever. So like I said, I know that I have friends, different reasons, different levels, different. And I think in knowing your friends and learning them, like that's how I'm able to kind of manage who I do this with, who I might do that with, who I speak about this, who I speak about that. You have to kind of meet people where they're at.
Yeah. Relationships are hard to manage. Did I ask you, why do you think they're hard?
Yeah, you did. You asked me why I thought it was hard. And I think it's hard because we don't but we spoke about, we don't always communicate, right? And you said different expectations and things like that. But I think sometimes also we might start off in our friendships on the same, let's say, level, right?
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. And then I might move up a level and you might not. And it might be cool that we're like 2 levels apart. But then if I move up another level, you're kind of too far back in levels. And then, okay, now that friendship is not going where it's supposed to be anymore.
Does it have to be like that?
It's
Does it though? Because
it's not that it has to be like that or it doesn't have to. Sometimes that's just kind of what it is sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of that's just what it is.
Yeah. But it's like, why with us being on 2 different levels, like that's okay. It's okay that we're on 2 different levels. But why can't we still be friends?
When I say levels, I'm not talking like financially or like, education. I'm not speaking about levels like that. So let's say we were friends and we bonded from partying, right? We would party all the time. So now we're on the same level. You're still partying. I party sometimes. So now I kind of moved up on a different level, right? When I say level, it's not like comparing.
Yeah.
So now we're on a different level. And now I stop partying and let's say I'm going to church, but you party every weekend. Like the friendship can't be the same anymore because we both bonded down here on the fact that we were partying all the time. Now our interests are different. So I've kind of grown not up, but in a different direction.
Yeah.
So if I'm going this direction and you're still where I met you at, then we can't be friends on the same level because I just been 2 levels up.
Yeah, but are we parting without trying to bring the other one with us?
That's not necessarily your responsibility. I do feel like, okay, in the instance that I just mentioned as far as partying and now going to church and what's not, right? It's not, I don't think it's my responsibility to bring you to the level of where we're going to church every week, right? I think my responsibility is to, I speak to you about going to church. I speak to you about God. I speak to you about my experiences and what's not. But you have to make the decision to want to go on that level. I can't take you.
There it is right there.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
It's like I can only show you.
Yes, I can't take you.
But I can't. Yeah, you have to make this decision yourself whether or not you're going to come with me. And I think that is important to make note because friendships fall apart because of things like that.
But sometimes it's just inevitable. We end up in just different seasons of our lives. Not just levels, different seasons. And I do think we also have to go back to sometimes, why are you friends with this person? Because like I said, if we kind of bonded in our friendship in a place that I'm not anymore, then is that really a friendship?
Yeah. And and then going back to like seeking what the purpose was to begin with, and making sure it's with alignment on what the actual purpose is behind it. Because I feel like we also befriend people and that may not have been what the purpose was behind it. And I'm learning that.
That's why I say I take my friendships very seriously. Like, just because we party together, you're not my friend.
That part. That part, yeah. No, seriously. Yeah. So how would you encourage, let's say, how would you encourage the younger generations who are coming up to choose your friends wisely? No, I'm kidding. How would you encourage them to just like be mindful, one, of the space that they're taking up, and two, the people that they're connecting to?
I say first, you got to take it to God. Like, you got to say that prayer. The RICO charge is going to come in, but you got to say that prayer. And you just have to give grace to yourself and people, because you're not going to always make the right choices in friendships. Sometimes friendships need to end, and we're not going to end them when they need to be ended. So you have to learn who is good for you and who doesn't have real intentions, really good intentions for you.
Yeah. And know that you are worthy of the good intentions.
Yes.
Finding that confidence in yourself, knowing that you deserve goodness, good intentions. Yeah. And not to always go with the okie doke. But yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And cut.